Good afternoon and welcome to our podcast, Learn More. Our journey with money will be our very first episode with the co-founders of Loon, Helal Lootah, and Alexandre Soued. It's my pleasure having you here today, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Hi, Ali. It's my pleasure.
Okay, so since it's our first episode, we're going to talk about the basics of financial literacy. I'd like to start with the most basic question. What is financial literacy?
So, financial literacy is essentially the concept of people's understanding in terms of finance and financial products. So, it can be everything from understanding where your money goes to understanding what a credit card or a loan are. And it's actually something that, we take quite seriously at Loon because we live in a region whereby, a lot of people have high incomes, but they're not exactly fully understanding where they're spending their money or what they're spending their money on.
What inspired you to start Loon, Hilal and Alex?
So I think what really kind of set us on this journey is, both Hilal and I have really found it difficult to save money, especially here. We were both born and raised here. We both, lived here our whole lives. And even when we had high-paying jobs or a lot of disposable income, we found it difficult to know exactly where our money was going. And we found it even harder to, put some away because of the fact that, there really aren't that many tools that are effective and out there to help you do it. So when we started this kind of journey, it was with that in mind. We were really just trying to create a solution for ourselves. But obviously since then, it's kind of expanded a bit further.
How did it expand?
We started off with sort of having a way to categorize our expenses, and it's kind of grown into something whereby, now we're really focused on not just helping people categorize their expenses, but also figure out ways to budget, figure out ways for them to save more. Ultimately, we hope to help them, invest that money and grow their wealth without even thinking about it. The way we're kind of building Loon is as a personal financial assistant more than anything else, because we really want something that's not necessarily in your face, but rather is just, there to help you along the way.
For people who don't know what Loon is, how do you incorporate saving in Loon? Or on what basis do you do that?
So, as Alexi said, Loon started from a very simple issue that we both faced, which is the fact that neither Alexi or I knew where our salaries were basically going in our previous careers. And we just needed a way to make it easier. We tried reviewing our bank statements every month. That took us, a couple of hours at the end of every month. And then there was a lot of time. And then we tried using Excel sheets. That was also a tedious process. And we just wanted something simple that will just give us this information in real time. And in essence, that's what Loon does. It takes your transactions, categorizes it for you. So it tells you, Alia, you've spent X amount and X percentage of your last month spending on groceries, for example, or travel or education, which gives you a full overview of your spending and tells you exactly, gives you a full picture of where your money is going. So that's the first step in savings. That's the first step in actually, if I'd like to invest or grow my wealth, I need to first know where my money is going. So in essence, that's where Loon starts. It starts this journey with you.
So, Alexi, before the podcast, you were telling me about your friend, the one who noticed a pattern of their OSN subscriptions. Tell us more about that.
So quite early on and quite soon after we launched, we started circulating the app, and actually we had what I would call a quick win, whereby a friend of mine was looking at her entertainment transactions and had realized she actually had a OSN subscription running and she wasn't even using it. So she was able to immediately make a saving there and cut that out.
Did you ever think that Loon would help people in this way? Was it part of the plan?
It was 100% part of the plan, but it was just great to see, people interacting with Loon and really getting a benefit out of it and helping them find where their money is going. I think it's really at the core crux of it, where you just, every day you're spending money and you don't know where it's going. For example, I just spent 28 dirhams on a coffee. Now I've realized I spent 28 dirhams on a coffee, I'm actually quite annoyed because, to be honest, it definitely shouldn't have cost that much. But that's really what Loon is meant to kind of highlight, that you could be making these expenditures where you think, oh, well, it's just one coffee, but they build up.
That's one expensive coffee, man.
It was an incredibly expensive coffee.
And only now we notice it. Like, I was one of the first accessors to the application, and it amazed me. Like, I didn't know I spent this much on groceries. What do I buy? And then yet I spend also a lot on restaurants. Okay, I buy so many groceries, but yet I spend so much on restaurants. Like, what am I doing? So I just like started cutting off budgets on groceries and on restaurants, and it made the hugest difference. So tell us, what are some of the experiences you had in your life with financial literacy? Give us one personal experience.
So I think kind of one of the tough lessons I learned was being very wary of a credit card. I think a credit card, and Hilal used to say this in, high school. I remember he always said it's basically this idea of free money. Most people don't really realize that it's one of those things that, yes, it's super easy to swipe, or with Apple Pay, it's just a tap away. What you really, and I, thankfully I never really had a major issue because of this, but I have definitely got to the end of the month and wondered how I'd spent so much money. And the whole ethos of Loon is not necessarily, spend less, spend less, spend less. It's more spend on the things that matter and don't end up in a situation where you don't know where you've spent your money.
More of spend wisely, I think.
Exactly.
Hilal, tell us, what's your experience with financial literacy?
So I could echo Alexi's experience in credit cards. I'm not saying don't get a credit card. I'm just saying you need to be aware of how it works and what responsibilities that you have towards it.
Yeah, I mean, a credit card with the right points is great as long as you pay it off properly.
Absolutely. And I've seen this firsthand, or like the negative sides of this firsthand in my past experience in the courts, where very young people that were offered credit card and didn't know how to properly pay off their dues got into actually big trouble and had to go through court cases and go through all that trouble right in the start of their lives. And this is merely due to just poor financial planning, and just because they didn't have the guidance and they didn't have the tools to help them organize this issue.
So if we say what's your take on credit cards, you'd say it's a no for you?
No, absolutely. I love my credit card. So.
How do people use them wisely, or how can people use them wisely?
So first of all, you need to understand when the cutoff date is and when to pay your dues. At the same time, don't spend more than what you actually have in your bank account. So that's the biggest issue. It's when people start spending more than they actually have in terms of cash. That's when trouble starts.
You should never have sort of a credit card loan out that's not more than you actually have in your account, that you couldn't just pay off overnight. The reason we kind of echo that is because I think, the way a lot of things are designed are to make you spend, and different types of offers. There's 2 for 1, there's 90% off. I mean, brands are not just thinking, let's be super generous and do a huge sale. It's just to encourage people to kind of buy. It's the same with credit cards. I mean, I get messages from my bank every time I make a huge transfer trying to convince me to convert it into installment. Yes, sometimes that's beneficial, but in reality, this whole idea of buy now, pay later, a lot of these kind of things are great.
And commercial.
But they're very commercially minded. No one's doing you a favor. What they're trying to do is make sure that you buy things. And if you manage them properly, it's a brilliant product. But a lot of people, I don't think, are able to really keep track of all the different kind of outstanding debts they have.
Of course. I do agree. I think it's a trap. So let's talk more. Tell us about Loon. What's Loon in the future?
So we ultimately envision Loon as this holistic personal financial assistant. So we really see the sort of managing your money, saving your money, and then ultimately investing your money as an evolution. We first want you to understand how you can manage it, how you can optimize your spending, how you can really understand where you're spending your money. Then we want to help you save some of that. And we want to grow that amount to the maximum you can save, right? So you can have a better future. And then ultimately, we want to help you invest that money in ways that one, not only align with your ethical beliefs, but two, allow you to grow your money and not really even think about it. It's just kind of happening in the background.
Okay, so I'm sure we're going to talk about this in like further podcasts, but for now, when it comes to saving, what do you think, in your opinion, is the best way of saving money?
I mean, I think the best way to save money is figure out where you spend on the things that matter and you don't just spend frivolously. Because you can go with the whole, okay, I'm going to set some money aside every month at the beginning of the month, which is a great way to go about it, by the way. But as the second you sort of get your salary, you transfer 20% or whatever out. But it's really about changing your behavior and really kind of focusing on, okay, look, I want to spend money on the stuff that matters to me. I want to save as much as I can. Because to be honest, yes, as a rule of thumb, you're meant to save 20%. A lot of people can save way more than 20%. So it's really kind of optimizing your spending for the things that matter.
I remember you also told me before the podcast about how, like, us living in the UAE or in our society, people were not used to like saving, so maybe 20% would also be too much for them. So how is Loon stand here?
So as of now, Loon is focused on 20%, but in the future, what we're looking to do is kind of make it more of a gradual progression. So you might start with 5, then 10, then 15, then 20 to really ease people into it, because you can't take someone who's spending 3 times their income in a month and then suddenly say, okay, let's save 20% of it. That just doesn't work.
True. And Hilal, what do you think about that?
Different people have different ways of saving. I don't think it's universal yet. It really depends on your income, your situation, what are you saving for. But the awareness is the most important part. For example, like if you're planning on building a house or getting married, in my experience, you need to start preparing for that. That's a big expense, and you need to start looking at that a while before the event. So it really depends on your specific purpose of why you are saving. And I think that really informs how you save and how much you would like to save. Just starting is the most important thing. Being aware and realizing that, okay, now I need to start. The first step, I think that's the most important thing in this journey.
I was listening to the event, and Haytham, one of the guests in your event, was talking about starting right, starting with the right tools, starting with the right knowledge. What do you think the right knowledge or tools are?
Absolutely. And I think, as Haytham mentioned today, we're not taught the right financial skills in school or in university. We're just not taught these skills. But however, today with the prevalence of the internet and social media, like you can get the right resources if you invest some time into it. What we want to do in Loon is to even simplify that even more for you, and through our content and through the app itself, to simplify this process for you and really help you take that step.
So basically, you are the right tool Haytham was talking about. Any tips for our listeners how to help them in financial literacy, or one thing you want to tell them?
My message to our users is that it's not, there's no shame in talking about finances. There's no shame in talking about savings. It's not a taboo. It's actually a very important topic that touches all our lives. We have to be aware of these things, and we have to be proactive and manage it in a better way. And the resources, the tools, the information is out there for you. Just have to take advantage of it.
I love that. Alex, do you have anything to tell our listeners?
Just kind of echoing what Hilal was saying, at the end of the day, it's really up to somebody what they want to do. And we want to make it as easy as possible. We want people to save as much as they can, primarily because we've dealt with the financial stress of, not having money, etc. And it's really something that we would like other people to avoid. And so as long as people take that first step, it gets a lot easier from that point.
So, just one last question. Do you think that COVID affected people and how they think about financial literacy in a positive way?
I personally think definitely that was a major kind of shift. I think people became a lot more aware of where they were spending their money, how they were spending their money. I mean, the way people consumed different things completely shifted in a matter of weeks, from going out, spending it with friends, spending it at different restaurants, etc., to maybe ordering something off Deliveroo. Or, I mean, I know a lot of people, I'm one of them, who just started online shopping. So I think that kind of got people realizing what they can live with and live without quite clearly.
Personally, COVID taught me that I did not need to spend what I used to spend. That was quite a shock to myself. And I think a lot of people went through the same experience and they realized, okay, I have a lot of disposable income actually, and maybe I should start, learning how to invest it and grow that. And we see a big shift in people's behaviors in this way. It's one of the hidden blessings of COVID, I guess.
I totally agree. Thank you for your time. It was a pleasure having you. And inshallah, to more podcasts and interesting topics. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ali.